He's always calling me Little Marco. And I'll admit, the guy, he's taller than me. He's like 6'2", which is why I don't understand why his hands are the size of someone who's 5'2". Have you seen his hands? They're like this. And you know what they say about men with small hands? You can't trust them.
Help me, I need water, help. And this is on live television. This total joke artist. It's Rubio.
Wow, what a weekend. The gloves are off. Marco Rubio and Donald Trump held nothing back as attacks turned personal. But will these attacks resonate with voters as Super Tuesday nears? To answer that question, let's bring in from Atlanta pollster Matt Towery of Insider Advantage. He's also the author of the book News Vesting. Matt, I know a lot of voters, particularly in Georgia, have already voted early. Will anybody really care about these personal attacks when when all the votes have been counted after Super Tuesday?
Well, I don't know. I mean, we have some new polling, which we'll be revealing to some Fox affiliates in the next few hours. I won't reveal those numbers, but I will tell you one trend that's developing, and that is that the beneficiary of both the Rubio battle with Trump and the Cruz battle with Trump is apparently neither one of them. It is John Kasich. His numbers are actually climbing proportionally much higher than Rubio or Cruz in a lot of these states who were polling. So this may have been a flawed strategy. In reality, Rubio and Cruz have got to decide which one of them is going to take on Donald Trump. There's a lot of conjecture that if one person were taking on Donald Trump, they could actually beat him, but they're running out of time. And their strategic decision to take on Trump in the debate, while it looked cute and interesting and it created a lot of excitement, it's not benefiting them in the polls.
All right, so that might answer this question about this hypothetical Marco Rubio, John Kasich ticket. John Kasich still thinks he has a shot in all this. Do you think his polling is suggesting some of the same?
Oh, I'm sure it is. He's actually in Georgia today campaigning in areas where he knows he's going to get votes, because I think for Kasich to win, all he has to do is end up at 11, 12, 13%. And all of a sudden, he is a live wire, and certainly then he goes to Florida, and if he stays in the race, he takes more votes away from Marco Rubio. This is becoming, the timing is everything in politics. And in this instance, the combination of strategy and timing has worked in Donald Trump's advantage almost every time. And I still, when I watch the debate, it's interesting. I was a strategist, as you know, for Newt Gingrich and others in the past. I looked at it, I thought, why are Cruz and Rubio not going at it with each other? One of these two has to emerge. So trying to take Trump down is just not working right now.
Interesting. Of course, we got the big endorsements over the weekend. Jeff Sessions endorsing Donald Trump, but so is Chris Christie. And when you look at some of these southern states, Chris Christie is about as far as anything that a traditional Southern Republican would actually go for. Why would this endorsement come? And won't this hurt Trump in the South?
Not at all. Now, he's doing very well in the South. Now, let me just say, he's going to do very well because these early votes are particularly in his favor. I mean, most of our polling in these southern states show that Trump is garnering upwards to 40 plus almost into 50% of the early vote. That's often because seniors tend to vote early. They tend to be going Trump. That's just part of what's taking place here. But no, Chris Christie, he hasn't hurt him at all. What we are seeing, there's been a little bit of a dip for Trump in some of these states, maybe by a point or two. So he has been damaged slightly by the attacks. But the attackers are also going down as well. So it's sort of like it's not really taking anything out of the hide of Donald Trump. I might also add, it's very critical. Most of these states, or many of them, have a requirement that you have to have 20% of the statewide vote, or 20% in congressional districts, for example, in Georgia and Texas, right, in order to get delegates. And I think in Georgia, both Cruz and Rubio will get delegates, some delegates. But in Texas, for example, Rubio is hovering right at or below that 20% level. So if John Kasich takes any more bite out of Rubio, he could be deprived of getting any or many delegates at all in Texas.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult for Marco Rubio moving ahead. I mean, Ted Cruz looks like he could claim victory in Texas, but there isn't really a state on Super Tuesday where Marco Rubio can claim any sort of victory, even one of those second place or third place finishes that he claims as a victory. It looks like a very difficult road. I'm curious as to why so many folks have broken with Marco Rubio over the last couple of days, especially since it doesn't look like he has a road to victory anywhere.
Well, you're talking about elected officials and the like who've broken with him. Well, that's because that is the candidate they would feel most comfortable with. I understand that. Many of them are my friends. I know Marco. I like him a great deal. This is when I analyze, it's not because I love one person.
But you got to win, Matt. You got to win somewhere. And right now, it doesn't look like even before next week, he's going to be able to put a victory on the board anywhere.
He may have a victory. I saw a poll maybe in Minnesota or somewhere where he was slightly in the lead, but that's not good. Look, that's going to be like waving Vermont or something and say, gee, I won. It's not going to do you any good. And here's the real problem. I want to tell you this because I don't think anybody said this on any television network. Here's the issue that Marco Rubio and John Kasich are both facing. Marco Rubio has exactly 1 week to decide if he wants to be defeated, if he is still losing in these polls after the Michigan vote. So he has 2 weeks. He has to decide if he wants to be defeated in his home state, as the polls right now suggest he would do. That would end his Senate career. So he's got to decide that. John Kasich has been losing to Trump in Ohio. So he's got just about that same amount of time to decide, do I want to stay in this race or not, and be embarrassed as a sitting governor. I'm not saying those polls are dynamic and things can change. But if it were right now and I were advising either one of them, I'd be saying, whoa, if we want to keep a career in politics, we better rethink this presidential thing right now.
Yeah, lots of hand-wringing and lots of consternation going on in both of those camps. Matt Towery, thanks so much. We'll look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you, John.
Our pleasure. And we just remind you to make sure you tune in for Newsmax TV's complete coverage of Super Tuesday. Tomorrow night, we'll have the latest up-to-the-date results, up-to-the-minute results, and expert analysis from our panels and guests. On Super Tuesday, our coverage begins at 6 p.m. tomorrow night. Make sure you stay tuned to Newsmax TV. Also, we have Diane Black, Congressman from Tennessee, coming up going to talk to us about subsidies from Obamacare going to illegal immigrants and much more right after this.